This is Golf Talk Canada, presented by SmartGolfDeals.com, the smartest way to shop for golf.
Welcome to another edition of Golf Talk Canada video podcast, the Keno Weeks. We've got a great video podcast for you this week. We have a special guest, CEO PGA of Canada, Kevin Thistle, going to be with us, talking about the state of the union as it comes to the PGA of Canada Association, the clubs his members work at. Where are we right now in this cycle when it comes to COVID-19 and golf? Of course, Scully time coming up at the end of the video podcast, and we're going to take a look back at what would have happened this week in the world of golf, looking back a year from now and where we should be this time this year. But let's bring in Bob. Bob, I got to say, as the video podcasts go on, you and I are getting better looking. I'm clean shaved head. You're clean shaved. Look at us. We don't look like guys in isolation.
I'm shaved, but I'm spending all my money on hair gel just to keep this in place at this point now, because it's never had my hair this long since high school when I had a mullet. So if this goes on too much longer, you'll see those pictures again.
If you bring back the mullet, our video podcast is going to go through the roof. That's all I'm going to say. Let's tackle a few news and headlines. It's a couple of brief ones. Obviously, we're still waiting on a PGA Tour schedule to be announced. And in fact, if someone's watching this late on a Wednesday or possibly a Thursday or Friday, there's a chance we might even have an announcement. It could be another week. We're all waiting on that. But there is some other news that has come around. Let's start with a good news story, Bob. PGA of America with a $5 million emergency fund for their association. That's a nice story that broke this week.
Yeah, $5 million right off the top. They're hoping that they can get matching grants to add up to another $5 million. So that would be a $10 million fund that they're going to allocate to a lot of their members and some of the projects that they have going, but mostly to the individual members who might need a little bit of help at this time. I did see a stat today that said 44% of the golf courses in the United States are up and running. So there are some pros, luckily, who are still working. I don't know to what extent they're working or if they're doing that, but there's definitely going to be some professionals in the United States, just like there is in Canada. I'm sure we'll hear that later on from Kevin, that are going to need some assistance. And it's like everybody else in every business around here these days.
You know, that's a great segue, and it's also a great tee up, Bob, for when Kevin comes on and joins us on the other side. Alberta is the most recent province that has officially shut down golf. But it's interesting how they did this. British Columbia is still open for golf. As far as I'm aware, that's the only province right now open for golf. Alberta was technically open, although weather was really not cooperating to kick off a big golf season. But as they close golf, it also looks almost simultaneously like all governing bodies in the province of Alberta, any stakeholder, has collectively got on the same page and has started to lobby immediately to the province for golf to reopen in a protocol for COVID-19 environment.
Yeah, so they were open, and as you pointed out, the weather made it a small group. There was maybe 5 or 10 golf courses that were open down in the southern end of the province, down near Lethbridge. But you're right, the province finally made a decision and said, we're going to ask you not to open. We don't believe it's essential. And there's a lobbying effort going on by some of the courses, some of the course owners to try and get themselves open. We'll see how far that goes. And I'm sure a lot of other provinces are keeping an eye on exactly what's going to happen there. I will give credit to the local NAGA chapter there that's put together a lot of documentation, both on how to run your course when it does open and perhaps how to help with the lobbying effort. So you can pick your poison, I think, if you're a course operator there. You know, in British Columbia, where it is prohibited, or it's not prohibited, I should say, a majority of the golf courses still remain closed. So even if you do have the ability to open, a lot of places are saying, you know, I just don't think it's safe right now to open.
And to me, that's an example of how I think the entire society is going to come out of this, Bob. A lot of this, as we come out the other side, you're not going to hit a switch and life's going to come back to normal. It's going to be a slow rollout back to what the new normal is. And there's going to be a lot of personal choices as to what you feel safe doing. And some things you're going to say yes, and some things you're going to have to take a pass on. And a lot of it will be up to the individual. Some sad news. We lost a golf legend in the last week. Doug Sanders passed away. I can't help but think, Bob, the first image that came to my mind was the short little missed putt at the Open Championship, and he goes to rake it back. he realizes he's missed it as it's creeping the hole, and he kind of goes at that motion to almost rake it back. And it's hard to watch, but we lost a legend.
Yeah, and people will remember him for that moment, perhaps more than anything else. He was a very, very good golfer. I think he won 22 times, and one of those wins was the 1956 Canadian Open, which he won as an amateur, the last amateur to win that tournament. He was a character. He was colorful. I had a chance to chat with him on a few occasions. He's got some great lines. One of my favorites he has is, I'm working as hard as I can to get my life and my cash to run out at the same time. Because if I can just die after lunch on Tuesday, everything would be perfect. So,
that is beautiful.
That's kind of the way Doug Sanders was. He was unfortunately known for that one shot, but a really good golfer.
I love that line. It reminds me of an old line of a younger Zecchino when I had hair, when I had flow as an Italian. I used to say, it's a great week, it's a great month, Bob, when my conditioner and my shampoo run out on the same day. That's how you know.
There you go.
That's how you know you had a successful month. All right, on the other side, we're going to welcome in our guest today, CEO, PGA of Canada, our friend Kevin Thistle. This is the GTC Video Podcast.
This is Golf Talk Canada, presented by SmartGolfDeals.com. This segment of GTC is brought to you by TaylorMade and the all-new Sim and Sim Max drivers. Shape in motion. We reshape the driver so you can reshape your game.
Welcome back to our video podcast as Bob and I now welcome in our guest, our friend of Golf Talk Canada, Chief Executive Officer of the PGA of Canada, our good friend, Mr. Kevin Thistle. Kevin, good to see your face. Before we jump into this, how are you feeling and how's your family feeling? Everybody good? Spirits are up and everyone's healthy?
Yeah, everyone's great. Everyone's healthy. It's amazing. I keep saying it, self-isolation takes a little getting used to. The first week or two, I thought it was going a little stir crazy, but I've gotten to a good routine. So everyone's good, and that's the main thing.
Let's jump right into this because, well, obviously some things you can plan for in life and some things you can't. And whoever saw anything like this coming? And I'm assuming there's a laundry list of challenges, but from your standpoint, being the head of the association at a national level, it must be a challenge dealing with the differences in the provinces right now and your members of associations in those provinces and what they're allowed to do, what they're not allowed to do. Do they have income? Can they work? Obviously BC's playing golf. Alberta is going to prepare to try to play golf, and the rest of the country looks shut down.
Yeah, it's amazing. Good question, because we're in contact. Before this call, I was just on with the PGA of Manitoba and their NAGA partners. Yesterday I was on with Alberta and even Saskatchewan, who I'll be talking to tomorrow. It looks like Saskatchewan will be coming back online with some protocols in the near future. That's what we're hearing anyways. But yeah, it's so different across the country. I mean, BC is golfing where the rest of the country is not. So it's just about the members, making sure that the members are safe, making sure we have all the programs in place for them to keep them connected and keep them safe. That's the main thing right now.
Kevin, how big a role right now is communication? Because it does seem that in all parts of our industry right now, it's just trying to make sure we're all singing from the same songbook and maybe understanding some of the best practices there. You said you've been on a lot of Zoom calls and talking to different parts, but how key is that part of it, the communication part?
I think it's paramount. Right now, it's everything because, there's a couple things like from communication. First of all, we want to make sure all of our members across Canada are safe. So we have this 24-hour-a-day, 7-day a week. It's called Member Assistance Program. If they need to speak to someone about anything, I don't care if it's finance, I don't care if it's a gambling problem, I don't care if it's a marital issue, they can pick up a phone and talk to someone because we've got to be connected. Also, we put a lot of our educational programs up on webinars for free because people need to feel that they're connected. Like the first one, I think 250 people signed up, and it's amazing to see the outflowing of collaboration. I've been talking to NAG, I've been talking to GMs, I've been talking to supers, everyone. I've been talking to the PGs around the world, and there's so much information that we can all share, and within a province, within a country, all over the globe. So it's been great. Communication had to be ramped up, and it really has the last 2 months.
Speaking of communication, Kevin, we actually asked our audience about a week and a half ago if there was COVID protocol in place in the province of Ontario or whatever province you happen to live in, would you play golf? Our audience said 80% they'd want to get out there and play golf. But I've also spoken to superintendents. Some of them suggest they can have plans to keep their guys safe and have them working on opposite ends of the golf course. Other superintendents have told me that they don't see a way that they can keep separation. So it really depends on who you speak to. So in that vein of communication, do you have a feeling from your membership as a whole as to, do they feel like they want to get back to work right now? If they had that choice, would they make it? Do they feel comfortable making it?
Right. I think there's mixed messages because, there's some people in the spectrum who say close every golf course in the world. Then there's another side that says open every golf course in the world. And I think the underlying theme is that let's listen to the experts. Not to say that once the experts say we can go back and play, that the golfers will come out. But I think there's been so much protocol with BC being open, with Arizona being open, these sort of things, and around the world, best practices, that I feel that if the government says it's safe to play, that it's up to the operators, and it's up to us to educate the golfers what that means by playing safe. We've heard about the cup being raised a couple inches. We've heard about online bookings only, those sort of things. So I think the protocols that are being put in place will be best served when we do open. And I think there will be a safe environment. I'm not saying today it's to date open and the environment, but there will be a safe environment once we're ready to open.
Kevin, I did see a really neat program that you've put in place now with our friends at Match Play Marketing to try and give golf professionals who at this time of year are usually inundated with shipments coming into their pro shops as they open things up. They've got a lot of gear to sell, but they've got nobody coming into their pro shops. Tell us a little bit about this program that you've put in place. Yeah,
so there's some programs out there, like there's Shopify, etc. But our friends at Match Play had almost like a one-stop shop. What it is any PGA of Canada professional across Canada can just join up. What they can do is they can sign up and they'll get like an online pro shop. And the great thing about the pro shop is you can sell to anyone, sell to your members. They can sign it back to their account. You can sell them to the public and use their credit cards. Curbside pickup, shipping. When they come up, open the trunk and we'll pop it in, that sort of thing. So it's really a way of, in the next couple of weeks, every pro shop in essence will be somewhat full of inventory. How do we help our members service their membership or the public and sort of move that through the system? So it's a great way to hopefully help our suppliers, help our members, and also help the golfing public. It's just another way to set up an online pro shop for those who don't have the wherewithal right now. It's a little one-stop shop.
Kevin, you must be very proud of your association and their membership. I've got to tell you, a lot of them are obviously friends of mine, you being one of them, but a lot of your pros are also personal friends of mine. And I see a lot of great things they're doing online, lessons, ways of communicating with their golf community. They've really taken a cup half full approach, and most of them should be applauded for that. I've got to say it's really good to see. Is there a story you'd like to share or anything you've seen why we've been in lockdown from someone who's maybe, going above and beyond and connecting with their membership, their teaching in terms of lesson community, et cetera? Just overall, it's a positive story.
It is, and we're in the midst right now, and this is a learning we got from a couple, I think it was Australia and South Africa. We're in the midst of calling every single member in Canada, every single member. We've got almost 3,600 members. So we've reached out, and you know what? You're hearing a lot of great stories, and Mark, thanks so much. I'm almost getting emotional because seriously, our pros during this time, their heads are up. They're very positive. When we came in, I was thinking, okay, lockdown mode, let's go. We've got to support them. But you know what? They're so proud to be a PGA member. And during this time, there's great stories. Like one quick story, Jacqueline Miller, she's in self-isolation, and not many people even know. She couldn't see her little boy, and that's their world, right? So all of a sudden, she reached out to me and a couple other pros and said, hey, I'm going to donate to the food bank because it breaks my heart if these kids can't have something to eat, especially during Easter, so whatever. So all of a sudden, that goes from one person to three person. I think we're at 300 people. And this is just Jacqueline Miller, just asking a couple people to help. And between the PGA pros, suppliers, greenskeepers, general manager, everyone hopped on board. And there's hundreds of stories like that across Canada. So very proud. And during this time, I'll tell you, the PGA Canada professionals, they're helping out their food banks. They're helping out, first line workers. I'm really very proud of them.
Kevin, in addition to all the work being done at the pro shop level and educational level, PGA of Canada runs a lot of golf tournaments. And
Right.
one of my favorites, and one of your favorites, of course, is the RBC Scramble presented by the Lincoln Motor Company. And
Yeah.
I want to, I just, how do you plan for that? Are you just like the PGA Tour? You just have to kind of wait and see when you can get dates to fit tournaments in at certain times of the year. You're lucky that the Scramble is, of course, late in the year, but
Right.
how do you sort of handle all that aspect of your job?
Yeah, good point. I mean, every zone right now is having tournaments, and they would have had tournaments in April and May. They've canceled those, of course. So we're talking about it daily. So with the RBC PGA Scramble right now, we have canceled anything that was going to be a qualifier in April and May. And there wasn't so many in April, of course. There was some, and then May. So those can be pushed back to later in the year. We're lucky. But there's going to come a time, if this doesn't get resolved too quickly, where we're like, okay, we're going to cancel June. June being one of your bigger months, of course. Now, we can still catch up, but there has to be one of those days where, if we do get golfing by, in June sometime or July, there's no problem. A lot of the tournaments that were supposed to be ran early in the year, they'll just do them in June, July, or August. But the longer it goes on, like the PGA Tour, the more you have to see that either certain ones will be canceled or certain ones can be delayed as long as they can.
Kevin, thanks so much for your time. I know we have some challenges, but I think we're going to get there. And like you said, your association is taking a cup half full, which is showing some great leadership. I think we're going to be on the golf course sooner than later. I really believe I'm putting the over-under May long weekend for protocol golf in most parts of the country. So certainly then by June, I can't be off that much. I usually am not. Let's see.
Yeah.
So Kevin, let's say we will play golf this year. And let's also say that you and I will go halvesies on a pumpkin and a pimento cheese sandwich in November at Augusta. How about that?
Cannot wait. Love both of those.
Thanks, Kevin, so much. Kevin Thistle, CEO of PGA of Canada. On the other side, Scully Times, our Golf Talk Canada video podcast.
This is Golf Talk Canada, presented by SmartGolfDeals.com. This segment of GTC is brought to you by Golf Ontario, shaping lives through golf.
Welcome back to our Golf Talk Canada video podcast, and thank you, Kevin Thistle, for taking the time to join Bob and I here today. Okay, time to welcome in master producer himself, Adam Scully, with a little Scully Time. And Scully Time, we're going to try something a little different this week. We're going to take a look back a year ago where we were in the world of golf and where we should be this week. Adam, where are we and where should we have been?
Okay, well, Mark, this should have been a huge weekend for Canadian golf. This weekend would have been Brooke Henderson's bid for a three-peat at the Lotte Championship. Last year, she won by 4 shots. The year before as well, rounds of 65, 68, 69, 70, successfully defending her title. At the time, tying the all-time Canadian record with 8 wins as professional, tying Mike Weir, Sandra Post, George Knudson. Of course, later last year, she went on to set the new record. And Bob, I know you had a chance to catch up with Brooke earlier this week. What did she have to say?
We were talking about the broadcast that TSN had on last Sunday of her 2018 victory at Wascana Country Club in Regina, which was, of course, winning the CP Women's Open. And we reflected about that. She had some interesting comments about sort of remembering that day, about how cold it was, how she was a little bit nervous until she hit that first tee shot and birdied the first hole, which was a good omen. And, I think it was neat for her to see her face light up when she reflected on that, because I'm sure right now it's probably the least of her thoughts. She hasn't played professional golf. She hasn't played a tournament since the end of January.
That is just so unfair when you think about it. This is such a young woman, entering her prime in the game, peak for what would have been just a huge 2020, I think, for Brooke Henderson. And it's put on hold like the rest of Team Canada. I'm finding a lot of this interesting too, guys, as we talk to pros. I know we've all kind of connected with a few of them. Bob, you've spoken to a ton. I've spoken to a handful of our Canadian guys, and it's interesting to see the window into their personality. Some are grinding away like the ball's going in the ground next Thursday, and others haven't touched the club because unless they know they're going to be inside the ropes competing, they can't really get their mind on golf right now, and they're doing look at Rory as an example, breaking Peloton records versus pounding golf balls. All right, Scully, where would we have been in the men's game? What was this in terms of PGA Tour world, or for that matter, European Tour world this time last year?
Yeah, so on the PGA Tour, RBC Heritage would have been this weekend at Hilton Head. CT Pan went on to win that tournament by one shot over Matt Kuchar at the time, vaulting up to 26 in the FedEx Cup standings, finishing 2 shots back. Patrick Cantlay, after a really strong Masters finish, briefly having the lead on Sunday. Shane Lowry as well, 2 shots off the lead, probably getting into some good form ahead of the Open Championship, which of course he did win 3 months later. One thing of note, though, how about Dustin Johnson? Opened with 3 rounds in the 60s, had the 54-hole lead before shooting a final round 77, including a 5-hole stretch where he was 7 over par. Yikes from DJ. Top Canadian in the field, Adam Hadwin, T48.
The RBC Heritage is one of my favorite non-major events to go and cover. It is so chill. It is so much fun. That golf course is absolutely brilliant to try and watch the players navigate around it. Sometimes you have trouble hitting the middle of the fairway because these trees are hanging over a lot of the holes, but it is a fun tournament. And to me, the fact that it gets such a good field still really shows you that the players like to go there. It's kind of it's not far from Augusta, obviously, and you can drive in there and you can kind of have a relaxing time. A lot of the players bring their families because it is such a fun week.
Yeah, it's a perfect spot in the calendar, and it's a perfect spot, a decompression after a major championship. And it's one of only maybe 5-6 golf courses on the PGA Tour that's old school in the sense that you still play it backwards. You got to know where the hole location is on the green, know where to put it in the fairway to find the angle to access that hole location, and then pick your side of the fairway. It's also one of those golf courses too, occasionally, depending on how long the rough is, and it's usually not long, that you might be better off in the rough with than in the wrong side of the fairway. I just love it because anybody can win there, and it's a breath of fresh air. And guys, take a look at the yardage on the scorecard there, and take a look at what the winning scores are. They do not tear that place apart, and it is not a long golf course. All right, guys, that wraps up this edition of the video podcast. Just a little shout out to our friends at Woodington Lake Golf Club. Follow them on Instagram at Woodington Lake Golf Club. It's at Woodington Lake Golf Club on Instagram. They're asking you to name the Legacy Golf Course. They're looking for a new name to the Legacy Golf Course. And they're asking you to tag 2 friends when you follow them and like them on Instagram. Why are they renaming the Legacy Golf Course? Well, instead of 18 holes, it's going to 2 9-holes, 2 hole locations and flags in every green. They're going to have some fun. They're going to pump the music on a Friday night. They're going to strip it down and rip the stiffness out of that golf course. It's going to be a fun place, a social environment, lots of fun on that Legacy course. And the good news is this: if you love that Championship Legends course, which is the home of the Ontario Open, that just keeps getting better. They're not touching that one. So why choose when you can have both? We're back this Saturday with all new Golf Talk Canada radio, coast to coast on the TSN radio network. And we're hoping to have a PGA Tour schedule in hand for Saturday morning, and hopefully some updates on Golf Talk Canada television. Thank you for watching. First good decision on the golf course always starts in the closet.
Mark and Bob's clothing and apparel provided by Adidas Golf.